It just taught me like, oh, you could do something if you want to. And if you get people around you who want to help you, it just makes it that much more fun. And you create like a little family. So if you're listening to this and you want something and you want to do something, just get some people and do it, because it's just so rewarding and so fulfilling to see your work turn into something. Scraping by. Welcome back to Barely Scraping By. Here I am again, solo episode, Claire. The first time I recorded my solo episode, I was so nervous because I didn't know what to say, and I'm seeing all these lights around me, and I got really comfortable with the listening and hearing people's stories. So it was different for me to be on this side, but I feel as I continue to record these podcasts, I'm getting more comfortable in a different flow state. But it's always important to kind of share what I'm going through and what I'm doing in my life, because at the end of the day, like, this is a podcast that I don't want to say it's about me, but shit, maybe. But yeah, it's about, the people I bring on and the people we all collaborate with and share their stories. So it's only fair to you guys to hear what, my story as well in the current stage that I'm in. So welcome back to Claire's EP. It's so exciting to be here. It's so exciting to have you. But before I jump into that, I'm basically like an only kid. I'm an only child. I'm playing by myself. So I'm going to bring out the baddie boot and ask myself the questions because, we're doing this one solo, my friends. So here's the little baddie boot. It's only fair that I only do it too, because everyone's been answering and asking and being so kind and courteous with their time that I need to do the same. Okay. This one is probably shit. What's the most delusional thing you believed about your own talent or potential? Wow. Probably the fact that I'm gonna make an Oscar-winning movie. Like, the fact that I fully believe that there might be a day where I'm standing at the Oscars thanking my family and my siblings and everyone who's helped me get there. And I fully envisioned the speech. I actually was manifesting it last night, not to be that person. But yeah, that's delusional. I think you have to be a bit delusional to be in this industry, because it's so cutthroat and so hard, and getting a movie made is like, God, flying to the moon and landing on Mars. It feels impossible sometimes. So like, I have to keep feeling that and feeling like, hey, I'm reaching for the stars, because it feels like sometimes you'll never get there. So stay delusional, my friends. If you're in the industry, stay delusional, because living in a delusion sometimes gets you there, because those delusions will become a reality if you believe in yourself well enough. But getting back on track, I'm gonna ask another self question because it's only fair. Okay, what is this one? Oh my God, these are amazing. These are the questions that I was most intrigued by, and now I'm getting asked them. God, I see you. How has working in entertainment ruined your personal relationships? This feels personal. This feels personal. I think that working in entertainment, you are so chained to your job. I can't speak on every position because, Nicole has talked about her job at the other company she works at. And she goes, Claire, once you get out of an agency, work life is a little different. So I'm going to hold on to that. But working at an agency, just talking on my experience, you are just from 9 to 6 or 9 to 7, you are chained to the desk and you are working all day, and you can respond to texts, of course, because who's not on their phone? It's like, come on. But you can't call people like during your lunch break, but then you might take an informational interview, which I tend to do at lunch, or get lunch with a fellow coworker. Because like you've seen from past podcasts, like networking is huge, and who you work with is eventually might lead into a different relationship. So I like to connect with assistants at lunch. So I'm just off the radar, basically a huge chunk of my day. If you want me, call me at 8:30 or call me when I'm after work, or get me on the weekends. But like, sometimes you don't talk to people for days and days, and you don't know what's going on in people's lives because you're so tired and you have networking events after work. So it's like, this industry is just sometimes very exhausting and can take a lot from you. So I feel like when it comes to my personal relationships, like sometimes I don't have as much to give. And I found that I was so stuck on the networking thing and doing the above and the beyond thing out of work that I stopped hanging out with my friends. I stopped hanging out. I used to be someone who hangs out. I don't hang out anymore. I go to something if I need to be there. I go to something if someone invites me, but like a casual hang is not something I do. And that really fueled my cup back in the day. But your personal relationships definitely fall to the wayside, and you have to make it a point. And I thought of that, like, if I let these relationships fall to the wayside and I get to a point where I look around me and none of my friends are there because I haven't been talking to them or texting them or being a good friend or showing up for them, like, I don't want that to happen. So in this season, I keep on referencing a funk I've been in, and I think that was part of it. I was reaching burnout and I wasn't talking to people who made me feel loved. And so I think your personal relationships are really, really important. It's really important to feed into them, and something that I was not doing the best at. So it's hard when you're constantly working and always thinking about work and always thinking about how to make your career keep going. I'm going to do one more. Oh my God. Have you ever cried in the bathroom at work? What happened? Yes, yes, yes. Funny enough, I was told, I don't know if I told you this, maybe I did tell you this, but someone who used to work at the company no longer works here. I was told was just when I first started working, I was guns a-blazing. I came out of college, started working at the company. Hi everyone, what's going on? Like, like being a little fairy, like not realizing that there's politics and history and, you know, undertones at play and that cutthroat mentality that I referenced. Like I didn't realize that. And I started in a department that's kind of a little bit known for that. Nothing against this department, but they were just, you know, they operate at a higher level because there's so much money and da-da-da-da-da. But so before I went in a little delusional. Ooh, back to delusion. Love that. But I went in a little delusional because I didn't know how to operate in this system. And so one of the people who were above me and was supposed to be my boss was talking poorly about me because I was a little too eager or a little out of pocket. And I didn't know how to I was like a fresh vampire from Twilight. I was just bitten. I wanted to eat everything. Like I didn't know how to be a proper Edward. So I was just like chomping at the bit. And she didn't love that because she just wasn't the most positive person. And she was just talking poorly about me behind my back. And I caught wind of that. And so it was really hard for me to hear someone who's supposed to be my mentor and my boss talking bad about me when all I wanted was to learn and to grow. And she took me down. And so I went in the bathroom and I fully cried because it was just really fucking hard to hear someone that you want to turn to for support saying that you're not good enough just on the fact that she didn't like your personality. So that sucked. And that still sticks with me, but it's good to know. And it's good to know that, you know, people are not always going to be on your side. And that's just a life lesson right there. Like I haven't done that again. It just, you know, I was fresh to the jobs a couple months in, maybe 6 months or something. It's from some information that I was privy to. So yeah, it took me out. It really took me out. But now I'm not offended by it. Like that's something that's happened once. But if I hear it again, I'm like, oh, that's just, you know, that's just the industry I'm in. That's just what we're working around. And there are a bunch of beautiful people, but this one particular person was not one of those beautiful people. And maybe she's grown or they have grown. I don't want to even fucking mention who they are, but maybe they've grown and become better. But yeah, that really was poo-poo magoo and that sucked. So whatever. Anyways, onward we go, onward and upward. To move forward, I definitely want to reflect on this past season because this is season 2. And, you know, this is the second season where we've had the lights and the camera and the production behind it, where before, you know, I've mentioned it's just been on my table, my sticky little table in my kitchen. So now it's like turning into something more. And I have people around me who are supporting me and spending their weekend here. And, you know, I have people right now around me that you don't see that are helping me even move forward this episode. Like I've created a group that I really can lean on and can help me feel like I have the confidence to do this, especially in a space that feels so saturated. So season 1 taught me that I can. Season 1 taught me that I have the ability to connect with people and talk with people and bring forth their stories that, you know, they don't always get a platform to say. And I was able to pull things that I never knew from them. And I had friends on. I'm like, I didn't know this and I didn't know that. And ooh, interesting. And seeing them in this professional space, quote unquote, I was like, wow, like I get to see them talk about themselves and not worry if I was listening. It's like they know I'm listening and I wanted them to be like, say what you have to say because I want to know and I want you guys to know. So season 1 taught me that I have the ability to not to doubt myself and not to be afraid and not to be afraid of cameras, like not to be afraid of cameras on you and not to like judge yourself for it. And I was seeing the clips coming out. I'm like, at the beginning, I was like, ooh, it's hard to see, you know, yourself across a social media page, talking, laughing, you know, but it's like only a clip of an episode, and that's only an episode of like all the things that go on behind the scenes. So it just taught me like not to take things too seriously, take social media a little less seriously. It's just fun. So season 1 taught me how much I love this, how much I love connecting with people. And when I did record a couple, you know, episodes, I was like, ooh, this is sometimes hard and it was a challenge and it was a struggle. So it just taught me like, oh, you could do something if you want to. And if you get people around you who want to help you, it just makes it that much more fun and you create like a little family. So if you're listening to this and you want something and you want to do something, just get some people and do it because it's just so rewarding and so fulfilling to see your work turn into something. So season 1, you can do it, Claire. And now moving into season 2 is like, I have more confidence with it. I understand like how to kind of navigate it a little bit more. I prepare more for every episode and I'm just more in it to win it this season. Not that I was last season, but I was trying to find my sea legs. And now I feel like, okay, I'm learning how to drive the car. I had my permit before, now I have my driver's license. Like I feel more grown into myself in this space and bringing people into my home and asking for their time. And, you know, I have things to show them now. I could send them an old episode and be like, see, this is season 1, like, come on in. So this season, I have more pride and confidence behind because I know that I can. And because of that, I want to continue doing this because it brings me so much joy. And like, set your mind to anything, hey, you'll land on Jupiter. If you shoot for the moon, I've been told this amazing quote. If you shoot for the moon, you might land on Jupiter. So, hey, keep your head up, my kids. I swear I can entertain myself for a full day. Anyways, I am moving into the next portion where I'm getting shot with some questions from Nicole, who has her own episode this season, because I give shout outs a lot to the people around me. You know, Eli edits, Brennan's helping with the lights and the cameras and helped with the photo shoot in the past season, and he's helped with the production design. And Nicole, she constantly on the phone with her. We are always talking about the podcast and moving it forward. So I think it's, me in front of the camera, but there's a million people behind it. So Nicole has an episode on this season, and I'm really excited to put that out there because I'm always yapping about you, but we're never seeing you. So Nicole's going to ask me some questions to kind of help me navigate this conversation and push it forward so you guys can kind of know what's going on in Claire's life behind the scenes.
It's been a minute since we last saw you in your last solo episode. So I want to know if you can just backtrack a little bit and remember where you were mentally. You talked a lot about self-love and that journey and what it meant coming back to the podcast. What have you learned from yourself, from the guest that helped you on this journey, that made it easier to come back to a season 2, that makes you excited to see where season 3, 4, or 5 go?
100%. Yeah. When I first recording that solo episode in the past was very hard. It was just hard to see the way I viewed myself. And it was hard to bring that back up and talk about that. It's something that, you know, when you don't have self-love and you don't have self-worth, it's hard. And yeah, I've talked about in that episode, but it's hard to bring that back up and talk about that. So I think that in that first episode, I was very vulnerable and I was nervous to share that and I was nervous to show that. But from that episode, I got so much positive feedback from people feeling connected to what I was saying that it just made me want to share even more. You know, and that's why I'm here today. Like in that mental state that I was in, I felt exposed. I felt raw. It was really hard for me to record that episode. Like it was hard for me talking that long. It was just, I didn't have a flow state with that yet. And even when I did the podcast in the past, having a solo episode has always been hard for me. It's always been a challenge for me. So I think I felt raw and vulnerable. And now going into that season, when I had all those guests and I saw people being so vulnerable with me and open up to me and feel safe with me to share their stories. And even though it's their career, like they're still in front of a camera and they're going to be on my Instagram and they're going to be, on the YouTube and they're going to be on shorts and we're going to get clips of them and we're going to have them on TikTok. Like you are showing yourself to the world. And so seeing that people were open to that and wanting to do that and wanting me to do that for them brought me a lot of confidence, knowing that they trust this and they trust this project. And they know we're not trying to do them dirty or do a bad clip to make them look bad or, show a side of the industry that might reflect poorly on them or their company. Like that is not at all my goal. I'm just trying to share the truth of what people have endured positively or negatively. So I think those people showed me like, okay, people feel safe with me and they feel comfortable with me. And so now going into this season, I feel because I have proof of, concept with all the other podcast episodes in the past, I feel that even more so now. Because in the past, people are like, okay, what's going on here? Like, I don't know what to base it off of. But now it's like, I've seen the Instagram, I've seen what's going on. So it feels like even more of a solid ground. And maybe it's not them, maybe it's just me having more of a solid ground in my hosting skills and my abilities. But I feel more certain. And so when I went into this season, keep on referencing this funk, but I'm so glad I recorded it when I was in the funk, because when I went into the season in a funk, I still knew that I could sit in front of the cameras and do this. And Nicole was like, are you sure you want to do it this week? And I was like, let's do it. Like, let's do it. Cause I want to show you guys, the people who listen and support me, that like, okay, I'm not always in the best mood. And like, I might be laughing and giggling. There might be all these photos of me on the Instagram, like head back and chuckling, but that is not how I live my life all the time and every day. So I think this season, I knew even if I wasn't in the best mindset that I still would be able to do this, because I've been given the confidence from my past guests and from, the people I work around and the people in the room with me now that I can do it and they believe in me. So that's what keeps pushing me forward. And so I just feel more sturdy for season 2.
So going off of how you just mentioned that you were able to have a lot of friends on in the past season and in this season too, and how they were able to be so vulnerable with you, I was wondering if you can just talk about how there might be a difference of that level of confidence when it comes to seeing them in a work setting, if they're your coworkers, or just having like that school setting, and then having that rapport with them, asking for essentially a one-on-one with them outside and off camera, to asking them to come on the podcast. And if that changes your dynamic or changes your confidence or your ability to ask questions to them, just talk more about that if you can.
Girl, we're gonna collab on season 3 questions. These are great questions. No, but I think when you ask someone to be on your podcast and, you know, come into your home, and people who I sometimes I haven't even met, but yeah, my friends, like some of my, like having them over and having them in this space, like it's almost created a deeper connection, because no matter where they go, no matter where they head, like, you know, there's going to be 2 people on this season. One's a manager and one's a writer, and she reps him. She reps Terrence. Terrence was on the past season. So, you know, a new person on this season, Molly, reps Terrence from last season. So it's just like, I always get to have that connection, and I feel so connected to them, and I feel even more connected to them. Like Jalen, he was my friend, but I feel even more connected to him that he's on my podcast. And if you go on his Instagram, the first 2 things on his Instagram are the clip and the photo from Barely Scraping By. He's promoting my podcast on his Instagram feed. And, you know, when I've had Maya, she was a great person at work, but I only talked to her a handful of times. And now that she's on the podcast, she was so lovely to have, and I have that part of her. It just feels like you have a little sacred space from someone, and I feel like I'm more connected with them because of that. And so at the beginning, it is a little, I'm not very flippant when I ask people. I'm like, no, this is going to create some sort of connection, and it's going to create a deeper connection for me, because you're going to be a part of my work, that I feel more connected to them. So it's interesting at work to navigate that. And I feel like, because everyone at work knows I have this podcast and knows that I do this, at the beginning I felt a little nervous because it was going across everyone's feeds, and, you know, I know that it's going on other people's feeds, and I was a little nervous of like, oh, you know, Claire's going to try to be a podcaster. But then I got a couple agents from work following me and being like, hey, you know, when you make it big, I'll be right there behind you. And I've heard that. And someone at work was like, hey, if you need anything from me, I got you. And it's just, there's people like pushing me forward even in that sense. So I was nervous to kind of collab and bring the outside Claire into the inside Claire. But the lines got a little blurry because my work outside of work is about the work I'm doing. So it was interesting to see the lines blur, but it was also great because the only people are talking shit, they're talking shit behind your back, and I'm not listening. But the people who want you to do well are telling you to your face, the good ones, and I'm getting that from my face, and that's enough for me to keep going forward. So the relationships at work they're just great. Well, not all of them, but the ones I've had on who are from the agency I work at, it just makes me feel even more connected with them, and it makes me feel even like more excited to work with them, because I'm like, oh, I saw them in this space that I would have never seen them in before.
And how is that working with people who you've never had to meet beforehand? You've never met Emma Patz before she hopped on the podcast. This is your first day meeting Maureen, who's going to be on season 2. So do you get nervous? Is it something that it just comes naturally to you to interview people? How does that change, and how does that stem friendship as well?
God, I'm fascinated by your questions. It is interesting how the host leads the conversation. Yeah, I think when I had Emma on, when I had someone I never met before come on, I was nervous because you kind of have to they always say fake it till you make it, but I had to fake being a host. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. You think I didn't know what I'm doing, but I just had to pull from things I knew I was good at. I knew that I'm good connecting with people. I know that I can pull some things out of people. I know that I make people feel comfortable. I know that I try to be exposed and vulnerable with them, so they're exposed and vulnerable with me. I know I'm very open. So I knew when Emma was coming on, I wasn't nervous, because first of all, Emma wasn't a random pluck from the street. It was a connection through Nicole, and everyone that Nicole has put in front of me have been really solid people. So I trust her opinion so much that I wasn't nervous having a new person on the episode that I've never met before, because I knew at the end of the day, I'm a conversationalist. That's why I have a podcast. I love to yap, but I also love to listen. And so having someone on, I'm like, oh, first of all, that's why it's so important to trust the people you work with on your side projects or on your projects, because, when they say something, you want to stand behind them, and I never want to doubt people's work. And so I don't doubt Nicole when she's like, oh, this person would be good. So I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rumble. But it definitely felt that imposter syndrome is a common thread that I always ask people, because I definitely felt like an imposter at the beginning. I'm like, what? I'm trying to be a podcaster and I'm doing this podcast thing, and why do people want to listen to me? But at the end of the day, I'm just doing this because I love it and I like doing it. And so having new people on, it's a fun little challenge. Having my friends on, not that it's easy, but it's more comfortable because I know them and they know me. And I'm like, oh, okay. If this conversation goes awry, we can just yap about something that we both know each other about. But a new person, I have nothing to base it off of besides a pre-call or some little things that I've snagged from their Instagram, which I did with Emma. Like I knew so little about her. And so I don't know. I know I can rely on the skills that I'm good at, which is chatting. And if the chatter isn't working, then I know I'm a good listener. So if just like allowing people to speak about themselves, like gives them the room to talk, and I can just, give them the active listening skills to continue. So I don't feel nervous by those episodes. I feel intrigued because they are a challenge, but they're always a good challenge that I need.
You talked about trusting the people that you work with. Can you talk about how you went from doing this podcast by yourself? You started it years ago and then you took a little bit of a break, and now you have me, you have Brendan, you have Eli, all these new people coming on to do PD or photo shoots. Can you just talk about how it felt raising like your baby alone to now having a village?
Oh, wow. Good question. Yeah, when I first started this podcast, I didn't have an editor. So I told the guests, and they were all my friends at the time, I said, sit down, shut up, and don't make a mistake. So I put that pressure on them to like, you can't make a mistake because I don't know how to edit, and I don't want really to learn how to edit. Maybe that's my fault. So I had to like do little signs to them when we're running out of time. Like we're at the table, and I'd be like 5 minutes or 4 minutes. And I remember one guest was like trying to run it over, and I'm like, oh no, we're going over. She's like, it's okay, Claire, like just keep it going. But we were like communicating with each other like through sign language or like doing little like off the mic things. So it started out just so silly and goofy, and it just felt like, oh, this, I don't know what's gonna happen. And we did skits, and my old roommate Brian would do all the skits, and then my old roommate Gwen would help me with the questions, and like they were kind of behind me too, and they were kind of pushing me forward, but it wasn't consistent. And then Eli actually popped on to be an editor before the whole lights camera action that we have now. And so it was cool to start leaning, making it more lean, and cutting off the fat and making it more like proper. And even though the episodes were still at my kitchen table, like it was interesting to see it like breathe some more life into it, and it wasn't as messy, it wasn't as off the radar. It felt like I was kind of honing in. And then it wasn't until that we have the production that we have now that I'm like, oh damn, okay, this is so cool to see. Something that I had with the $40 mic on my table is now what it is today, and it's like still growing, and we have a ways to go, or maybe we'll blow up tomorrow. But it's just cool to see that people want to work with me and want to work alongside me and like this idea. And I think trust is the biggest thing. I'm a very loyal person, and I like when I could trust someone, because then I trust that they're not going to do anything in the disinterest of what we're doing here. Like they have this podcast best interest in mind because they're connected to me, because they know how much I love it, that everyone wants to keep pushing this forward because they know that I'm not going to do anything against them, and I know that they're not going to do anything against me, and they just want the best for this project. So it just feels like I've curated a space where I can have fun, but also like trust the people I'm having fun with, because sometimes, when you get a bad producer and they're in your ear and they turn it to the wrong direction, it could completely derail your project. Or if you have other people who are on set or whatever you're doing, it's just like, you got to trust the people around you, because they could derail what you're doing. I remember I was working on a short, and the DP didn't know what they were doing, and it was a $40K budget, and he didn't know what he was doing, and it was a friend. And, I totally understand that. I always talk about friendships, but the footage was all like fucked up because the lighting was overexposed. And so this DP, who was supposed to be, she was graduating, this was going to be her short film from her graduation, this is what you do to get managers and agents, completely lost a day of footage, which is huge. And the DP was like, oh, shit, sorry. Yeah, so that goes back to trust. Like that he oversold himself and ruined this girl's short film, which was so sad to see. And I never want that to happen here. And so I make sure to get people who know what they're doing, but also I can lean on.
So I would like to reflect a little bit on the past episodes of season 1. So, Jalen mentioning that he wanted his stories to be additive to creative conversations of history. Alex spoke about how there's space for everybody at the table. Lucy advocating really hard for a work-life balance. Emma talking about the assistant soft power. Just what is something that you took away from all these conversations in general? We hear you talk about it in every episode, but looking back, what's something that you really learned and took away and even applied into your own life, going into what you're doing at work, but also what you're doing in your personal life and what you're doing for season 2?
Not to hit it with the cliche of like, do what you love. But I think what I took away from the people, because I always touch on like this podcast is called Barely Scraping By. So we are doing it while we're barely scraping by. Like it's not just the episode, it's not just the podcast name. It is definitely telling of my life sometimes. And I think what I learned is that everyone is struggling some way, somehow, or I knew that. But now I saw these people that sometimes always have it buttoned up and put together, and you never know what's going on behind the scenes. And I got a little look of the behind the scenes of like, yeah, Lucy was working for one of the most powerful people in the industry, but then she was so stressed and so overworked that she like was about to pop. You know what I mean? And Emma being on a double desk, like, yeah, I got to see how she navigated that. But at the same time, she was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm the first person with the first pass of the material. And we'll see, you know, and that self-doubt. And Jalen, when he was like moved from New York to LA and was trying to navigate that. And it's just, I'm seeing the behind the scenes. And I think what I took from that is that I know I always ask the question of like, yeah, this industry's hard and we get no money, we get no time, but I'm actively seeing people do what they love, like before my eyes. I get to see people talk about what they love and do what they love and give a lot of time to things that make them passionate and joyful and fulfilling. So I think what I took from that is just, sometimes I can feel derailed from this industry, and sometimes I question if I want to keep doing it, and sometimes I question if this is the right path for me, or, you know, I'm just so caught up in the Hollywood glitz and the glam that I'm like, you know, I was like, asked my mom, like, do I just like the validation from this? Do I just like being interesting? Like, I fully have had this conversation before. I'm like, do I just like that it makes me interesting? Do I like to stay interesting? Like, I don't know, like the self-doubt was just reeking. I was reeking of self-doubt. And I'm like, no, Claire, you love it. You just love storytelling. You love curating emotion and seeing people elicit emotion from something they've seen and get really revved up after they watched a movie. And I've, you know, had passionate conversations. And like, I was watching 2001 Space Odyssey the other day on my computer at work while I was working, and it was on a YouTube small screen, and I rented it from YouTube. I have a bunch of movies I'm trying to get through, the AFI Top 100. And my coworker next to me is like, are you literally joking right now, Claire? You're gonna watch Space Odyssey while you're working and barely paying attention? And I was like, I have so much movies to watch. I have so many things to watch, and I have no time that I'll like just kill two birds with one stone and glance every once in a while and do what I'm doing. And so seeing him get so worked up about the fact that I'm watching an incredible movie on YouTube rented on my Dell desktop was like almost like I like shot his childhood dog. It was like, oh, maybe not, let's not say that. It was almost like I like slapped him across the face. So it was just like, people get so passionate about that. So I think what I took from last season is, yeah, we're all going through it, and at times we're all barely scraping by, but just continue pushing yourself forward and continue loving what you're doing, because it will get you to the next stop. And that's what I've learned from last season, is that no one has like changed course and done something else, because everyone wants to stay in it and keep fighting the good fight. And so it's just good for me to see that and be reminded of that when I'm actively sitting in front of a person and being like, why am I doing this? And they're like, I'm doing this because this is and this is. I'm like, yeah, it just reignites my fire when I hear them saying it. And that's why I feel so engrossed in their story. And sometimes I feel getting so worked up about Maureen's episode. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but she was just talking about her story, and I was so inspired by her, and I felt so in awe of her journey and what she was doing. And when that episode comes out, I'm very excited for it. So, and then seeing, you know, an old coworker, Molly, now become a manager, and that's this season. It's just, it reignites my fire every single time I have an episode with someone. And so it reminds me why I'm doing it every single time. And so it's like not them just sharing their story, but it's me, you know, keeping myself on course through this podcast.
Speaking of being on course, courses change. And when Terrence was on the podcast, he had a very hot take about his agency experience, and if he felt if it was worth it, and you had a strong reaction and you felt the opposite. That was season 1. You had a different desk, you're in a different department. You talked a little bit on this season coming up, but can you just talk about how maybe these conversations and also your life journey in between season 1 and 2, it's been a couple months, where your head is at with that transition and how you moved forward?
Yeah, I still strongly stand behind again, I've only worked at an agency. I still strongly stand behind my stance of season 1 of like, work at an agency, continue to work at an agency. One of my friends just left to a really big company, and then, I can name because no one knows the person, just left to work at New Line. And for people not in the industry, very well-known company. And then I was like, hey, how are you doing? And she was like, oh, if I didn't work at the agency, I would have been drowning in work right now. I would have been literally so dead. And I'm like, oh, wow. And hearing these people say, you know, about their agency experience and the networks they made and the built-in friends they have, I think I still stand behind that notion, even though I've, you know, had my struggles with working in an agency. I strongly believe you should start at an agency and work there, because it will give you, I've met so many people and built such a community, but talking about my experience, I used to be in the unscripted department, but my eyes have always been set on feature films. Like I want to be a movie producer. And so I moved from the unscripted department. Damn, being a guest on this podcast probably revs you up too. Like I'm just getting people who've probably been on probably get revved up because I'm getting excited like about, I don't know, interesting. I just a thought. No, literally, I'm getting excited about myself right now. But I always had my eyes set on features. And so now that I'm in that space, like I moved from unscripted to features, I was trying to leave the company, not anything against an agency, but I felt that, going to be in the feature space outside an agency was going to be best suited for me. At the time, I just wasn't getting opportunities that were exciting me. And my whole notion is like, if I'm going to do this industry, I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. And every opportunity is a good opportunity in my eyes. So I felt, maybe I'll jump, but I wasn't feeling passion for anything that was in front of me or the places I was interviewing. So a desk opened up in the feature lit department at the company. And so I moved and I'm still at the agency. It's been interesting. I think it's just they're very, very different and the way they operate is very different. And also being in the space you've been wanting to be in for 4 years. Since I started this, I decided my junior year of college that I wanted to do this industry and I set out wanting to make movies. And now 4 years later, I was in the talent department, then I was on the unscripted department, and now I'm in the features department. But now I'm finally in the space that makes me most excited. And so that comes with feeling fulfilled, but also feeling extremely nervous when you're actively talking to people that will very much help you in the future or you might work with, or, my boss might be someone I work with in the future. So it's just, there's more pressure. The pressure is on because in the unscripted space, I did really enjoy my boss and I did really enjoy the department and it taught me how to have a voice. That department really pushed talking in meetings and bringing ideas and not being afraid to show yourself. And so I learned how to find a client, pitch a client, be a person, let my personality be. They really valued me as a person, but they also validated me as a person as well. Like I felt very seen and I felt like my personality was very seen. In this department, it's a features department, like this movie is built on movies. And so it just runs a little differently and it runs at a different speed. And so I've learned how to keep up with that, but I found my voice in unscripted. So I was able to bring that to the features department, which was interesting. And I think I kind of, in the moment of unscripted, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And now I'm like, so glad I did that because it brought me so much information that's so, privy to what I'm doing now and so helpful to what I'm doing now because it taught me like, hey, if you have an idea, speak up. If you want to talk to your boss, go in his office, or if you want to talk to a different agent, ask for an informational interview. Because the whole time I was on that desk, I was networking with people in the features space, in the movie space. So I'd network with assistants and I networked with like Netflix showrunners assistants and, other people at TV lit departments and the talent department and the features department at other agencies just so I could be in the scripted space and see what was happening. So I was always networking with people in those spaces. Trying to get myself there, and now I'm here. It just feels like a good pat on the back to Claire. I'm like, fuck yeah, I did that shit. But also it's like harder because I want it so badly. I'm finally in the space and nothing against what I used to do, but I'm in the space I want to build a career in, and that feels scary.
A lot has changed in between season 1 and 2 for you in just a couple months. So in between season 2 and season 3, what are some of your goals? And this is a 3-part goal question. So what is your personal goal? You're moving. Is there some new goal you have in that aspect of your life? Progress, aka your career. Do you still want to be on this desk? What do you hope your next step is? And then 3, passion for the podcast. What do you hope season 3 brings?
Okay, personal goals. We never, ever will shy away from some self-love, mama. Keep on loving yourself. Keep on, I think I have this negative little monster in my head telling me I'm not good enough and I won't make it and all these things I'm set out to do, I will never reach. I definitely have that voice. That's a lie if I said I don't. So I'm trying to erase that from my mind because it's just not doing it for me anymore. And I just don't want to live in that mind space anymore. It's just not worth it. So personal goal to erase all negative self-talk out of my head and self-doubts out of my head. That is truly what I strive to do. And sometimes I hear that little monster talking to me and I don't even notice. So I think recognizing when it's happening, giving a moment to push it out of your mind and move on. And also another personal goal is just like to lean on my homies and hang out again and be around my friends again and network. Yes. Slow down a little bit. I want to feel my heart beat and I want to feel my breath. And I'm just I come home, I throw my bags, I get my stuff, and then I go to the next thing, and I'm across town, and then I have this, and I have that, and I have that. And I know that's the industry, but I think I just want to be a little calmer because that was my upbringing. Like I lived in I had space, I had places to run around and grow in, and I always had a center calming energy, and I haven't found that in LA. It's only because I am the one in the cycle of constantly going, and I felt what it was like to completely halt because I reached a wall and I ran into myself of all the things I was running away from. So confronting myself and being more kind and loving still, because I push self-love, but doesn't mean I always have it. Career, I want to, hopefully by season 3, I'm looking out to apply to new jobs outside of the agency, and probably hopefully have a few interviews going on, and just kind of have spaces that I want to work. I'm still trying to navigate where I want to work. So really pinpointing who I want to work for and where I want to work. I think that would be a big goal for mine. And just like knowing the agency front and back, like really squeezing the lemon and squeezing all the juice out of it, so when I leave, I don't regret anything. So talking to the agents that intimidate me, talking to the people that intimidate me, getting on the phone calls with my boss's clients, and keep on doing that, pushing myself forward, getting myself into spaces that I'm not, comfortable in, but still pushing myself forward and advocating for myself, so then I could be in the room. So I think always putting myself in front of opportunity instead of being afraid. So I told myself one bold thing a day, and I sent a big agent email yesterday telling him congrats. He didn't respond, which is okay. And the day before that, I asked one of my boss's clients for a Zoom. He didn't respond either. That is okay. But point being, still being bold and putting myself into opportunities and not straying away from them. And then what was the third one? Season 2 taught me a lot. Damn, did this season teach me a lot. And I think I'll probably just touch base on that in season 3. So to be told what I learned from, but actually talking from my organic experiences, like, we had to roll with some punches. We had to roll with some guest changes. I had to roll with, the headspace I was in. I had to roll with, some camera issues. And so there was just, there were some things going on in this season that were hard to deal with. So I feel like season 3, just kind of, learning from my mistakes and continuing pushing it forward. And in my passion, I just want this podcast to continue to grow, and for me to prioritize it and push it and not be afraid to talk about it and bring it up into conversation. And, you are your advocate for what you do. And I think that we sometimes, being humble is amazing, but we don't talk about things we're proud of. And so I think just bringing this up into conversation and not being afraid to talk about the podcast whenever I have a chance, because, getting into spaces and bringing it up into conversation is important to continue pushing this forward and having this continue to grow. So interesting being a guest on the other side. It really is. It's like you just reflect a lot. I wonder if guests have like
existential crisis.
Yeah, like, because it's like I'm feeling some type of way right now. Like I wonder what y'all feel like, the guests. We're gonna do a BSB little mixer moment, and I want to ask everyone these questions. Okay, what's the best mistake that you learned from? What is the best mistake that Miss Claire learned from? In my last department, my boss liked me, which was a plus. Loved that. And I like him too. He's the best. And so because of that, like I just didn't feel the passion for the desk. And so sometimes I wasn't always on my A game. And I regret that, because just because you're liked, like, doesn't mean you shouldn't always be on your A game. So I think the mistake I learned from is like, I was just making mistakes because I wasn't double checking, and I wasn't really being diligent about my work. And I'm like, that's my work, Claire. Like, you were like hiding behind your boss, and you were making mistakes that you should have never made. Like little things, like little errors, little spelling errors, little Calendly errors, like just little things that were enough to really start doubting myself. So I think that was the best mistake to learn from, because I learned those little mistakes suck, but they don't take away from your value as a person. Because even though I was making those mistakes, my boss was still like cracking jokes with me and laughing with me and wanting to have a good time and wanting me to do well and mentoring me. And he gave me a glowing recommendation. And my old boss, he's the best, but he's not really someone who like, would da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, he gave me a glowing recommendation, because that was one of the best recommendations I've ever given. And I'm like, damn, like even all those little tiny mistakes I made, like you still wanted me, you still know I can do well, and I could still be a good assistant and a good person to be around. And he really, really advocated for me. So I think the best mistakes is like, okay, I basically am advocating making mistakes because people also like you, but not taking away from your value as a person. And I think those mistakes had to be done because I'm like, oh, I'm still valuable and I'm still can do good work. And I think I had to make those to realize like, oh, it's not that big of a deal unless you're doing something massive, but it's not that big of a deal and it doesn't take away from you. So I'm glad all those little things culminated into you have to do it and you have to get through that part. So then you can come out the other side and realize like, if you're still doing the big work, it doesn't matter the little things. Oh, I think we're coming to the end of it, because if you watch the last season, when you ask a question, that's the last question of the episode. But I kind of just want to take a beat to shout out Dorian's episode. Love Dorian's episode. Shout out to Dorian. But I just want to shout out all the people who've helped me with this season 2 and have come back to work again. And I always shout out these people. I'm going to do it again because I appreciate them. Eli in the back on the mic. Wave to Eli. Love him. And then we got Brendan in the back. I'm getting some signs by people. You're not seeing them. Really, really want to shout out Eli, Brendan, Nicole. I want to shout out Lauren for making this incredible set and bringing this all in, and we yipped and we yapped and we ate Thai food and we got it done, and she came in and put her best foot forward. Jasa, the new photo like we did a photo shoot together. Jasa, those photos are incredible. Anicia, a new editor who's helping this season. Eli has a full-time job and he is booked and busy, and so he just needs a little bit of help too. So Anissa jumping on the pod, and also all the guests that came forward this season. This season is truly, truly incredible. Not that last season wasn't, but this season it's just people are putting their A game on and really coming forward with their best foot forward and really wanting to be here, and I feel that. So this season just feels it just feels yummy. It feels delicious. It feels exciting. I feel like I'm growing into myself. I'm becoming a better host. I'm getting that stride with it. So I think this season's going to show you the capabilities of what we have and what we can keep on pushing forward and what we can do, and which is going to keep getting better and stronger and better and stronger. So the season's exciting. I had so many good conversations, and I felt so raw and exposed, and in those kind of funky moments, but it just made me feel more connected to the people that were uplifting to me and brought me, and recentered me and why I'm doing this. So this season's going to be really exciting, and I still feel that same passion I did when I had it at the kitchen table in my college apartment. I still feel that same excitement to keep doing this and pushing it forward, and being a podcast host, which is my identity now. To ask the next guest the question, because as you know, we passed the plate in this house. Pass the plate, Disney Channel reference. I want to ask the next guest, what is a challenge you faced that turned out to be positive? And with that, keep watching Barely Scraping By. All the people who've been here since day one, kissy poo poo to you, my guy. And all the people who are new or a new listener to this episode or new in general, I appreciate you. I see you. Comment on the Instagram because I'll answer back. I'm done. Bye. I love you all.